Thank you, Dr. Ajay, for having me here for this wonderful IC. And we have been a part of this IC for a couple of years now. So, sir, you want me to skip to the video part directly or?
No, you go as you feel like.
Okay, fine. I'll just skip
We
to
have
the
about
slides.
we
Yeah,
have
just to
about
the slides.
20 minutes with you and Dr. Ritu have to cover, and then if I get 2-3 minutes, I'll cover my presentation.
Okay, sir. So, as we know, DME patients suffer significant impairment of quality of life because of the high treatment burden associated with intensive injections, and the treatment is associated with substantial medical cost as well, which adds on to the work loss for young patients and their attendants for injection appointments. And of course, anxiety and high expectations lead to a negative impact on the long-term pharmacological therapy. There is frequent delay or decreased appointments in intravitreal injection. And furthermore, results from real-life studies are not comparable with the data known from our RCTs. And the final is refractory treatment. We always in our clinic see refractory patients to anti-VEGF and steroid implants, and the proportion of patients achieving significant BCVA in this subgroup of patients are lower. As we all know, the current gold standard of therapy has gone from macular laser photoablation now to anti-VEGF agents, and in some special cases, steroid implants are the first choice drugs in which there is an inflammatory component. Coming to the surgery for DME, we can categorize, three indications for surgery for diabetic macular edema. That is the tractional macular edema, refractive macular edema, and treatment naive macular edema without any previous pharmacological therapy. So the rationale between the traction element is, easy to find. That is the resolution of DME is by releasing the traction anterior, posterior, and tangential by removing the, vitreomacular traction, the hyaloid, all the membranes, the epiretinal membrane, and the ILM. In fact, DRCRNet was the only prospective trial conducted for, vitrectomy for DME, in which they found that 40% patients improved 2 lines, and there was a decreased subfoveal thickness by 160 microns. But the caveat here is 22% also of the patients also lost 10 or more lines in this study. Refractive edema by definition is, a macular edema which has continued for more than 6 months after repeated non-surgical treatments and absence of any evidence of any tractional force. And the rationale for vitrectomy non-tractional edema is now that small gauge vitrectomy is a proven treatment option because it is safe and it reduces macular thickness in cases of DME by increasing the vitreous oxygenation, reduction of VEGF levels, cytokine levels, and adding a ILM peeling over that is beneficial for the anatomical resolution of DME. As I said before, modern vitrectomy systems with advanced visualization techniques has made macular surgery safe with improved results. The third category, the rationale between for vitrectomy in DME for the treatment of treatment naive macular edema is still controversial. Now, few studies have come in which they have mentioned PPV with ILM peeling as the first line option in the treatment. And the logic here is that in refractory edema, when you go for a vitrectomy, it is used as a rescue procedure in which the treatment results are limited due to the extensive damage because of the chronicity of the disease and the damage to the outer retinal layers. So the new studies say to go in early for treatment naive macular edema. Of course, we all have to be, aware about the complications. They might be rare, but they still do occur in the best of hands in vitrectomy for DME, like retinal detachment, macular thinning, macular hole formation, endophthalmitis. The list can go on. So I'll come to the videos now. This is a video of vitreomacular traction, and you can see the main point here is after doing a vitrectomy, you go for multiple stainings because there is a presence of vitreocheisis and there is anomalous PVD, and you have to stain again and again with Japan blue, brilliant blue, and tricot to find the second membrane and then come to the ILM. So rushing through the surgery is not a good idea, and you have to be gentle to the posterior pole tissues because they are more friable than the normal tissues in the normal ILM peeling case. So this is the the posterior hyaloid being removed, and it's thick and it's adherent, and you remove it gently. You can see the hard exudate plaque at the fovea. After that removal, you go with the trypan blue, and this is the ERM over the macula which is being removed. And some amount of ILM along with the ERM is getting removed with it. And around a 2 disc diameter of ILM peeling and a ERM peeling is enough for restoration of the macular contour in these cases. This is one more case in which we can beautifully see the role of multiple stains and multiple layer peeling. So we have stained this posterior pole with the triamcinolone acetonide and trypan blue. Now we are going to remove the ERM and the posterior hyaloid remnants over the posterior pole. And they have these appendages extending beyond the arcade, so you have to be very careful while peeling them so as to not cause any iatrogenic breaks. And after this layer has been removed, we again stain with brilliant blue G dye, and now you can see the ILM quite visible, which was not seen previously. And then you do a 2 disc diameter peeling of the ILM in these cases. I always add some amount of laser to the ischemic areas to give me better results. Some authors have suggested adding anti-VEGF at the end of the procedure or a steroid implant with variable results at the end of the procedure. So the main technique of the surgery is similar to treatment naive macular edema also, although I don't do it, but people say that most surgeons say that the concept is the same, that you do a vitrectomy and you do a 2 disc or 3 disc diameter ILM peeling at the macula. Of course, this video is just to show you that complications do occur because of the friable retina, and in this case the ILM was getting peeled. We were peeling it, and we ended up de-roofing the macula because it was a cystic macula, and we created a iatrogenic macular hole in the post-op period, and this is the post-op period photograph. So to conclude, the current gold standard treatment for DME is anti-VEGF therapy. Vitrectomy remains an important tool in treatment of select cases of DME, in tractional DME and refractory DME. With the invent of modern vitrectomy surgery systems with small gauge instruments and advanced visualization, which offer a promise of safe surgery with improved efficacy. Of course, for treatment naive cases and refractory cases in which vitrectomy is done, there are no prospective studies right now. All the large studies are retrospective in nature. So for the prospective studies are needed to define the role of early PPV in these cases. And finally, intraoperative complications and the concept that a thinner macula does not correlate with the improved visual acuity should be amply clear to the surgeon also, and should be made adequately clear during counseling to the patient also.